Hey there, welcome to the Focus Podcast with Tara Lee. This is the place where we talk about real life, real relationships, and how to grow through it all. If you're looking for simple mindset shifts, better communication, and deeper connections, you're in the right spot. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Focus Podcast. If you're new here, I'm Tara Lee Eddington, and I help couples break the cycle that are tearing them apart and start building the connection they actually want. Today, we're talking about the O in focus, in my focus framework, own your thoughts. And this step might be the most powerful part of the entire framework because once you understand this, you can't unsee it. And it will completely change how you experience your marriage. Here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Your spouse doesn't make you feel anything. Your thoughts about what they did create your feelings. And I know that that can feel really uncomfortable at first, but stay with me on this, okay? Because this is actually the most empowering thing that you can learn about your relationship. Okay, so we've talked a little bit this month about why January has a way of making things feel louder. The silence feels louder, the distance feels louder, the problems feel final. And sometimes that's not your marriage suddenly getting worse. It's what you've entered, what I like to call the crisis clarity. A crisis has a way of snapping your focus into place. And maybe you've been feeling disconnected for a while, but then something happens. An argument explodes. Someone says, "I'm done." And you hear, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you." Or the word divorce enters this conversation. Suddenly, it's not theoretical anymore. Now this is real. Now it has your full attention. That's crisis clarity. And clarity can be helpful, but it can also be very dangerous because clarity under stress often turns into urgency, and urgency turns into panic. And panic makes your thoughts feel like facts. So today we're going to talk about how to use that clarity without letting it hijack you or your relationship. Okay, so let me paint a picture for you. You're telling your spouse something about your day, maybe that something hurt, something that mattered to you, but they barely respond. They nod, they say, okay, and keep scrolling on their phone. And immediately something tightens in your chest. Your brain starts to go to, they don't care, I don't matter. Why do I even try? And now you feel hurt. Maybe you feel angry, invisible. So you shut down or you snap or you add it to the mental list of reasons why this marriage isn't working. But here's what I want you to notice. Your spouse didn't create that feeling. Your thought about what their behavior meant created that feeling. Because if their behavior were the cause, everyone would feel the same way in that situation. But they don't. Some people would think they're exhausted. Some would think that maybe they're distracted. Some wouldn't even think anything at all. Same behavior, different thoughts, different emotional experience. And that's where your power is. Okay, here's how the focus framework works. F is for facts first. O, own your thoughts. C, choose your feelings. U, understand your actions. S, shape your results. Your thoughts create your feelings drive your actions shape your results. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. I had a couple come to me, Rachel and Ben, and they'd been married, I believe, about 32 years. They raised their kids, they built a business, they survived very hard seasons, but Rachel came to me convinced it was over. And every night, Ben came home from work, grabbed food, and went into his office. That was the fact. But here's what Rachel made it mean. He doesn't want to be around me. I'm just someone who lives in his house. He has already checked out. She felt rejected. She felt lonely, hopeless. And what did she do? She stopped trying. She stopped suggesting time together and started planning a life without him. And the distance grew, which felt like proof that she was right. But when Rachel learned to own her thoughts, everything changed. Same circumstance, new thought. He's managing 30 people all day. He's overwhelmed. This isn't about me. Now she felt calmer and more compassionate. So she just gave him 30 minutes when he came home and then knocked and asked if he wanted to go for a walk. And their connection returned. Same husband, same behavior, completely different marriage. The only thing that changed was the meaning that she was assigning to that action. Now, let me tell you about another couple. We'll call them Lisa and Mark, okay? They were fighting. They weren't yelling, but they had no big blow-ups and no dramatic conflict. They were just drifting apart. Every night they sat on opposite ends of the couch, but both of them on their phones, both quiet and lonely. Lisa's thought was, this is what happens when the kids grow up and we have nothing in common anymore. Or she also thought he didn't need her, so she stopped reaching out. Mark's thought was that she seemed uninterested. I don't want to bother her. I guess we're just roommates now. So he stopped trying too. Same couch, same silence, two different stories. And those stories created distance. But when Lisa changed her thoughts to, maybe we're both waiting for the other to make the first move, she tried something different. She put her phone down and said, hey, want to watch something together? That one small shift reopened the door because, again, the meaning changed the whole moment. Now, I want to pause here because I know some of you are thinking, okay, Tara-Lee, my spouse did hurt me. They did forget something important. They did something very painful. Yes, they did. And I'm not asking you to pretend that it didn't happen. What I'm asking you to do is separate the fact from the meaning, because the fact is what happened. The meaning is what your brain decided it meant about you, or it meant about them, or what it meant about your future. And when you don't separate those things, you give your power away. You make your emotional experience dependent on someone else's behavior. But when you own your thoughts, you take your power back. In long-term marriages, it gets kind of tricky here because after 20, 25, 30 years, your thoughts stop feeling like thoughts. They start feeling like truth. He always ignores me. She never listens. That's just who they are. But what if those facts are just thoughts you've practiced for decades? Your brain loves confirmation. We've talked about this before. So once it believes a story, it starts collecting evidence, and suddenly everything becomes proof. But stories can be rewritten, and it starts by questioning the meaning. So here's the question that I want you to practice this week. What am I making this mean? Not what did they do, but what am I making it mean about me, about them and us? Because that's where the spiral begins, and that's where it can stop. When you're in a crisis, your brain goes into survival mode. And survival mode says things like, this is never going to change. I've wasted my life. It's too late for us. I have to decide right now. That's not clarity. That's catastrophe. Clarity sounds like we're disconnected. Trust needs rebuilding. We need new tools. But catastrophe sounds like there's no hope. And catastrophe is just a thought. It's not a prophecy. So before you react, before you send the text, before you demand an answer, and before you make a big decision, ask yourself, what are the facts? What am I making this mean about me? And what am I making this mean about them? What am I making this mean about the future? And what else could be true? That last question creates space, and space brings power. Owning your thoughts is not saying it's all my fault. It's saying I have more influence than I realized. You can't control your spouse, but you can control your interpretation, and that changes everything. If January has you feeling hopeless, and if you've been thinking the same thoughts for years, ask yourself this: am I reacting to what's happening or to what I've decided it means? Because meaning can be questioned, meaning can be reframed, meaning can be chosen, and that is where your power is. And if you want support, watch the free masterclass or book a marriage clarity call with me. You can find links to these at taralee.eddington.com. And if you've been married 15, 20, 25 years and you feel like you're living with a complete stranger, that doesn't mean it's over. It means you need a new way forward, and we start with owning your thoughts. So thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you next week on the Focus Podcast with Taralee. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the Focus Podcast. If something stood out or helped you in some way, feel free to share it or leave a quick review. It means a lot. Keep showing up, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next episode.